Report from Fox 4.
One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Sapola,
Okay.
as well as
right.
Patrick Nolan there as well. But we are looking at the president landing just on time as we wait for his speech. He's scheduled to speak about the Lake O releases and how much funding will be provided. He said he will promise $63 million, but Florida lawmakers are asking for $200 million. And so as we wait for the president to deboard there from Air Force One, we are also standing by for our reporters. We've had all-day coverage. As you see there, Patrick Nolan is on scene with the rest of the press pool, and they're just gathering right now, waiting for the president. Let's go ahead and check in with Patrick. He is ready on standby. Patrick or Frank Sapola. How are you, Frank? What's going on there?
Okay. I am well, Lisa. Just about 5 minutes ago, 2 Marine One helicopters landed. As you know, when the president visits, there's always 2 for security reasons. There's a ton of security. It's sort of ramped up in the last 5 minutes or so. We also spoke with some wonderful folks here along the way. They're very pleased about the possibility of meeting President Trump, or at least seeing him, obviously. But the Marine One helicopter landed again about 5 minutes ago, right on the Herbert Hoover Dike. And that is that dike that's more than 80 years old, and there's been a lot of discussion about replacing it, or at the very least reinforcing it. And that is the thrust of the president's visit today. It's the first time he's been to Florida since that campaign visit, if you remember, at what was the Germain Center just before Election Day. And he is here today, as are Senators Rubio and Scott. As Lisa mentioned a moment ago, Lisa, there's a little disappointment in the fact that those U.S. senators asked for $2 million in aid to reinforce this dike. They got about $63 million in the latest budget. But again, just to reiterate, the president has landed on the Herbert Hoover Dike. He's going to be talking with reporters briefly. My colleague Patrick Nolan is there. And for the time being, security's tight and we're in lockdown. Okay, Patrick Nolan is available right now. Patrick, what are you seeing?
Patrick Nolan coming to you live here with a live look at the president's chopper. Just landed right next to Lake Okeechobee. You'll see a Marine standing just to the front of the chopper, just to the right of the chopper if you're looking at the screen. 2 choppers touched down right before him, and you can see the presidential limo parked just outside of the chopper there. The president, of course, will step down and step into that vehicle and take a brief tour of Lake Okeechobee. Now, it's hard to believe, but just a short while ago, he was at Mar-a-Lago, his winter resort, his mansion in Palm Beach County. It's right on the coast, and he's come well inland. If it was any of us making that drive, you know what a hassle it can be on this side of the lake in Palm Beach County. But the president coming here in Marine One, it is the official helicopter for the White House in which the president travels. It's a quicker move for him to come straight from Mar-a-Lago this way. And the security is very heavy here as we give you this live look. You can see that the rotors have come to a stop. The chopper, of course, containing the president and his entourage. We know that there will be some local officials and statewide officials. You're looking at it now, the president just stepping into the limo, a man holding the door for him right in front there, and then a man stepping behind him. I can tell you what's happening behind the camera. All of the media and the security on this end hustling and scrambling now to the next phase, which will be to wait to see where the president goes next. We are going with him as part of the White House press pool, the only station in Southwest Florida with that kind of access, and we'll continue to let you know. Just to describe what's happening now, we've got someone from the White House moving us back and putting us on the vehicle, so you might get the live shot scrambled a little bit. You've been watching it live as the president landed just here at Canal Point in Palm Beach County. Our coverage continues throughout the morning. and this afternoon.
Thank you, Patrick. And that is Patrick Nolan as he gets ready into the van pool, the press pool, invited by the White House there as we wait for the president. There he is, just off Marine Force One and into the black SUV. And as they are parked and getting ready to transport him, that's why Patrick had to jump into the van. As we lose the picture just for a second, our cameras are getting situated and they're going to follow him. The instructions for the press pool to follow the president very specific and quite hectic, and they were prepared to move on the fly if need be. So that's what they're doing right now. Want to check back in with Frank Sapola now as he also waits for part of that motorcade. Frank.
Yeah, Lisa, as you mentioned, it's a very fluid situation here. If you can look behind me, the president is going to get into his limousine. You see the motorcade sort of revving up behind me. Air Force, I should say Marine One, landed on the dike, I would say about 15 minutes or so. You saw the report from my colleague, Patrick Nolan. And here is the beginning of the motorcade. As I mentioned, security is ramped up in the last minutes or so. And there's a lot of folks lining this roadway. And keep in mind, this is a really small town, only about 600 people or so. So this is a big event for this town, Canal Point. But a lot of people, residents, nearby residents, have come out with their MAGA hats and their flags and so on. I met a woman, she told me she was 87 years old, and this was the last thing she wanted to be in person.
All right, obviously we're a little touch and go with Frank's audio there, but as you can see, the motorcade coming down this street through a very small town of 600 people in Canal Point, northeast of Lake Okeechobee there. But wow, quite an impressive motorcade, and included in that following will be the press pool where our Patrick Nolan is also following the president. So as soon as they get to their destination, where the president will then talk about expectations for Lake O, we will also check back in with Patrick Nolan. In the meantime, things have been just really steady, running like clockwork. We were expecting to have the president land around 1 o'clock. He was there about 10 till 1, landing at Herbert Hoover Dike. And he is expected to address the new reservoir at the Everglades agricultural area as well. So again, resources were, as we look at Frank getting ready to speak to us once again. The motorcade just kind of zipped by, but we are working to get Frank's audio. In the meantime, again, the president is going to address the new reservoir at the Everglades agricultural area, which is south of Lake O, and the Trump administration cleared a feasibility report from the South Florida Water Management District. That will allow work on the EAA to start. A radical idea that could be looked at is raising Tamiami Trail, or US 41, which turns into State Road 90. This would allow water to flow into Everglades Park, but it does come with a hefty price tag. As we take a look at another angle here, a live shot from our crew out in Canal Point. The price tag of $144 million, half of that would be federal funding. The rest, the state would have to come up with. So very interesting points there. We're going to see if the president addresses that. Professors and students with the new water school at Florida Gulf Coast University, they say they hope President Trump will engage local officials on the issues related to Lake O water quality and not just its structure. They're also hoping to see an increase in funding. Okay, so as we wait for the motorcade to travel down this road here, we're taking a live look right now. You can see police control, traffic control, keeping bystanders and press and onlookers at bay and off the sides of the streets, keeping everyone safe. But for a small town, a lot of people have come out to this small area off Lake Okeechobee. And they just want to grab a glimpse of the magnitude of the president. You see some American flags there as well. We will continue to cover this throughout the day, and of course, keep it with us here on Fox 4 News. We will have more coverage of the president's visit to Lake Okeechobee at 5 and 6 o'clock tonight. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Fox 4 News at 5.
You've been watching breaking news from Fox 4. For continuing coverage, go to fox4now.com. We now return you to regularly scheduled programming.